There is an animal in California that kills more people than every snake, spider, and scorpion in the state combined. You see it every summer. You've probably never thought twice about it. That's the problem with the whole list. Every entry on it shares one thing: a gap between what the state has documented and what people choose to believe. Here are 12 of them. A garage in the Inland Empire, a stack of cardboard boxes nobody's touched since spring, and a hand reaching into the corner one without checking the underside of the flap first. That's where you find them, in the gap between the box and the wall. In the dark, nobody sweeps out. The Black Widow's venom is neurotoxic, and a bite today rarely kills. But it sends people to the emergency room with muscle cramps so severe, doctors have mistaken it for appendicitis. The denial here is simple arithmetic. People say I've never seen one like that settles it, never accounting for how many are living in the undisturbed dark corners of every garage, woodpile, and storage shed in the state, patient, motionless, waiting for something to brush the web. Now we move from the animal hiding in the dark to the animal that's already on you before you've even noticed. A hiking trail in Marin, tall grass brushing both legs at the knee, and by the time you're back at the car, something the size of a poppy seed has already found skin behind the ear or in the crease of a knee and started feeding. You didn't feel it land. You won't feel it bite. That's the whole design. People treat the tick like a nuisance, not a killer, something you flick off a pant leg and forget about by dinner. That's the denial, and it's the quietest one on this list, because there's no growl, no strike, no moment of confrontation to make the danger register. Just a walk through grass that looks like every other walk through grass, until days later, sometimes weeks later, the fever starts, and nobody connects it back to the trail. California logs documented cases of Lyme disease every year, concentrated in the wooded and brushy country up and down the coast and through the foothills. And Lyme isn't the only thing riding in that bite. Rocky Mountain spotted fever and anaplasmosis show up in the state's records too, and both can kill if the early symptoms get written off as a summer flu. The state has fatalities on file from tick-borne illness, not many, but enough to end any argument that this is a minor irritation. Here's what makes the tick harder to defend against than almost anything else on this list. It doesn't rattle. It doesn't need range or a running start. It just waits low in the grass or on a blade of brush at exactly the height of a bare ankle, and it holds on once it makes contact, feeding for hours before anyone notices the small dark spot that wasn't there that morning. The bite itself barely registers, so the only warning most people get is the illness that follows, and by then, the animal responsible for it is long gone. But another predator has been slipping into backyards for years without most people even noticing. A suburban street in the San Fernando Valley, 2 a.m, and a shape crossing a lawn under the streetlight that the brain files away as somebody's dog before the eyes even finish processing the tail, the gait, the ears. It's not somebody's dog. Attacks on humans are still rare, but the state's own numbers show them climbing year over year, and pets disappearing off patios has become routine enough that some neighborhoods stopped reporting it. The habituation happens one bowl of dog food left out overnight at a time, one open trash can at a time, block by block, until an animal that used to run from headlights starts walking toward them instead. Wildlife officers in Southern California have flagged a turning point more than once. The moment a coyote looks at a small child on a sidewalk and doesn't flinch, doesn't retreat, just watches. That's in the reports. That's not campfire talk. But the coyote is just the first animal on this list that's learned to live closer than anyone wants to admit. Now, we move from the animal people hear about on the neighborhood app to the one they forget is still here at all. A hiking trail in the Santa Monica Mountains, stepping over a fallen log, and waiting, without quite realizing you're waiting, for a rattle that never comes. The Pacific rattlesnake doesn't want the confrontation. It wants you to keep walking. Camouflage does the work confrontation would otherwise have to do, and most people who get bitten never saw the animal that bit them. The venom breaks down tissue, not nerve function, which is why the emergency room numbers include something people don't expect. Permanent damage to fingers, to hands, cases where the tissue death outpaces what anti-venom can reverse. The quiet truth underneath all of it: the snake does not want to spend venom on something it can't eat. But cornered, stepped on, reached toward, it will, every time, choose the strike over the risk of being caught still. Number 9 is the threat everyone already knows is out there, coiled somewhere just off the trail. Number 8 is the one people have decided, wrongly, is basically harmless. That's 3 entries down. 9 to go. Some of them you'll recognize. One of them, you've probably already walked past today. A cabin in the Sierra foothills, first light, and the trash can lid is on the ground 15 feet from where it should be, dented in a shape that matches nothing in the house. Fresh claw marks run down the door frame, 4 parallel lines through the paint. Nobody heard a thing. A bear in Groveland tried a sliding glass door last summer. The homeowners watched from the bedroom. The door held. The next one might not. California's black bear population is large and getting larger, and encounters aren't the rare mountain event people imagine. They happen at the edge of nearly every foothill community from Shasta down through the Sierra. Here's what the record shows once a bear stops being afraid of the porch light. It stops being the cartoon that raids picnic baskets and starts being an animal that tests doors. The state has fatal attacks on file. Not many, but not zero either. And it has something more common and more overlooked. Bears walking into homes through unlocked doors, through pet doors, through windows left cracked for summer air. Bluff charges make up most of the encounters that go bad. An animal running at a person and stopping short to make its point. Most of the time. The reports include the times it didn't stop. Once a bear learns a house means food, it doesn't forget, and it doesn't stay away. It comes back, and it teaches that lesson to the next bear that wanders through the same territory. One bad decision by one homeowner becomes a standing problem for the whole street. The bear is not the monster of campfire stories, but it's not a raccoon either. Number 7 is the animal almost nobody believes will actually cross their path. A trail camera in the hills above Malibu caught it at 4:13 in the morning. A cougar mid-stride, head low, moving through the frame like it had somewhere to be. That's the only proof most residents will ever get that the animal shares their hillside at all. The statewide population holds fairly steady, and attacks on humans stay rare. But when they happen, the outcome is severe. Necropsies on lions killed after confirmed attacks have turned up something that ends the debate about intent. Stalking behavior isn't guesswork. It's documented in how the animal approaches. Low, quiet, patient. The same pattern used on deer. What's found afterward in the stomach tells its own story about what the animal had already decided before it made contact. Here's what nobody wants to sit with. You can spend your whole life in lion country, hike the same trail every weekend for 20 years, and never see one. That tells you nothing about whether one has seen you. Wildlife biologists who've studied lion movement in these ranges will tell you the sightings people report are a small fraction of the crossings that actually happen, most of them at dusk. Most of them without a sound. Number 7 is the animal everyone half believes is out there, somewhere past the ridgeline. Number 6 is the one people just step over. A backyard patio in the Coachella Valley, bare feet on concrete, still warm from the day, and a sting that lands like a cigarette pressed straight to the skin. That's the bark scorpion. And it's not rare, it's just quiet about where it lives. Bark scorpions are established across California, not confined to some far corner of desert nobody visits. And the venom does real damage. Severe pain that can radiate up a limb, numbness that lingers for hours, and in serious cases, breathing trouble that puts people in the hospital. The state logs hundreds of scorpion stings a year, and that's just the ones that get reported. Palm Springs residents treat scorpions like a desert novelty, something you photograph under a blacklight on vacation, not a nightly presence climbing the stucco, hiding inside a shoe left on the patio overnight. The animal doesn't announce itself. It just waits in the one place bare skin is going to land. From the thing that waits in a shoe to the one that waits below the surface. A surfer off Santa Cruz, paddling past the break, and a shadow slides under the board that's gone before the brain finishes registering it. The water goes quiet in a way that doesn't match the wind or the swell. That quiet is the tell. The red triangle isn't folklore. It's a documented concentration of great white activity running from Bodega Bay down through the Farallon Islands, one of the densest white shark aggregations anywhere on the coast. And the state keeps attack numbers on file going back decades. And yet the math that holds anyway. Every surfer up and down that coastline knows exactly what swims beneath them. And every surfer paddles out regardless, running the same odds in their head that says, today isn't the day. The moment that math falls apart is specific. A shark breaches, even once, even at a distance, and the silhouette becomes undeniable in a way statistics never were. That's the exact second instinct takes over instead. The shark is the apex predator everyone already fears, out past the break where they can see it coming. But the next animal hides in water nobody thinks to fear at all. A beach in Seal Beach, waist-deep water, and the shuffle step everybody's supposed to do. The one that warns a ray you're coming before your foot lands on top of it. Somebody forgot. The lance of pain that shoots up through the foot doesn't feel like a cut. It feels like something electrical. And it's already happening before the brain catches up to what it stepped on. Southern California lifeguards keep a running tally, and stingrays injure more people on these beaches every year than any other animal in the water. More than the sharks everyone's actually scared of. Some towers keep a count posted for the day, a number that climbs steady through a warm afternoon, and behind every tower sits a bucket of hot water, because that's the only field treatment that works. Heat drawing the venom's effect back out of the tissue. The ray isn't hunting anyone. It's lying flat in the sand, doing exactly what it does every day. And it only strikes when a foot comes down on its back, and it reacts the one way its body knows how. A barbed tail whipping up on reflex. The volume of bare feet moving through that same few feet of water, day after day, all summer, turns an animal with zero interest in people into something close to a statistical certainty. The difference between a defensive animal and a hunting one is a single decision, and not every animal waits to make it. Now we move from animals that only defend themselves to one that hunts, and it does it in the dark. A hunter working the coastal range at dusk hears something moving through the chaparral, and the sound is wrong for a deer. Too heavy, too deliberate, a weight that doesn't lift and place its feet, so much as push through whatever's in the way. He raises the rifle, expecting a mule deer to bolt. Instead, the shape in the brush turns to face him. Wild boar in California are invasive, and they didn't stop at the ranches and hunting preserves where the population first took hold. The state's own wildlife record includes documented attacks on people across multiple counties, not isolated incidents, a pattern. And the range keeps expanding. Pigs pushing further into the hill country that backs up against actual neighborhoods. Rooting through golf courses, showing up in drainage culverts a quarter mile from a subdivision entrance. The injuries climb along with the range. And here's the part that keeps the real number soft. People don't report it. Getting run down and gored by something the culture still pictures as Porky Pig carries an embarrassment that a coyote bite or a snake strike never would. So victims tell the emergency room they fell. They caught themselves on a fence. Anything but the truth. Here's the turning point that separates a boar from almost everything else on this list. Once it decides you're the threat instead of the thing to avoid, there's no bluff phase, no charge that pulls up short to make a point. It closes the distance and it uses the tusks, and the only real move left for a person on the ground is getting off the ground, because a boar's attack doesn't stop when you go down. That's exactly when it keeps working. 2 left, and for the first time, each one gets the whole section to itself, because neither of them fits in a pair. Number 2 is smaller than almost everything else on this list. It doesn't chase. It doesn't stalk. It doesn't need to. Because by the time you see it, the question has already been decided. A desert road outside a town most people drive through without stopping. And a snake coiled tight in the shade, thrown by a creosote bush, barely off the shoulder. Look closer, and there's a tint to it. A faint green cast that separates it from every other rattlesnake, sunning itself in that same stretch of scrub. That color is the only warning most people get, and most people miss it entirely. The venom is where this animal breaks from the pattern the rest of the rattlesnake family follows. It's potent, and it's neurotoxic, which means it doesn't just chew through tissue the way a Pacific rattlesnake does. It goes after the nervous system directly, capable of shutting down the muscles that keep a person breathing. That's a different category of threat than anything else with a rattle in this state. The danger here is specific to the desert communities that live alongside this snake every day. Locals out here respect rattlesnakes as a category. They know to check the woodpile. They know to watch the trail. But they treat every rattlesnake the same. One general threat with one general response. And that flattens out something the state's own bite data makes clear. The Mojave green operates on a different order of danger than the snake sunning itself in the yard next door. And here's where the data catches up with the reputation. Bites from this species show a faster onset of symptoms than typical rattlesnake bites. Hospitals have documented anti-venom complications specific to its venom profile, and the state's own toxicology data singles it out as the rattlesnake most likely to land a bite victim in the ICU. Not because of folklore, because of what the venom actually does once it's in you. And its camouflage against desert scrub is close to perfect, which means the confrontation a person thinks they're avoiding may already be underway before they know it. The quiet truth that closes this one out. You can walk within a few feet of a Mojave green and never know it was there. But if it bites, you won't need a lab test to tell you this wasn't an ordinary rattlesnake. Your own body tells you within minutes, a wrongness spreading that doesn't match what a normal bite does. And by the time it's obvious, the clock that matters most has already been running for a while. And now we arrive at number 1. The animal that kills more people in this state than every snake, spider, scorpion, shark, and rattlesnake on this list combined. And it's not even close. It's probably within a mile of where you're watching this right now. A gardener in the Central Valley, kneeling at a hedge line she's trimmed 100 times before, and the hedge answers back. A cloud lifts out of the leaves, low at first. A hum that climbs into a roar inside 2 or 3 seconds, and by the time she understands what's happening, the decision about whether to run has already been made for her. Africanized honeybees are established across Southern California now, not contained, not isolated to some corner of the map. And the detail that matters most: you cannot tell one from a European honeybee by looking. Same size, same color, same shape moving between flowers. The difference only shows up when something disturbs the hive, because an Africanized colony doesn't send a few defenders out to investigate. It sends all of them. The denial with this one runs deeper than any other entry on this list, because it's not built on ignorance. It's built on good intentions. People have spent years hearing that bees are struggling, that colonies are collapsing, that every hive deserves protection. And that's true of the species in general. But that same instinct blinds people to the one hive that isn't struggling at all. A feral colony that's moved into a water meter box at the edge of the lawn, thriving, defensive, and one lawnmower pass away from a mass stinging event. Look at what the numbers actually say. Bee stings kill more people in this country than every other venomous animal on this list combined. More than snakes, more than spiders, more than scorpions, and California carries a share of that total that outweighs its share of the population. Not because the venom itself is worse, because of what happens after the first sting lands. An Africanized colony responds faster than a European one, sends out far more defenders, and chases a target 3, 4, 5 times farther from the hive before giving up. An accidental bump against a fence, a weed whacker too close to a wall cavity, and what should have cost someone 2 or 3 stings turns into 200, into a life-threatening event inside a minute. Here's the moment the whole case turns on. The first sting lands, and for a half second, it registers as nothing more than a bee sting always has. Sharp, forgettable. Then the second lands, and the third, and the roar closes in from every direction at once. And that's the moment a person understands this was never one bee. This is the hive, and the hive does not stop because you started running. The most dangerous animal documented in this state looks exactly like the one every schoolchild's been taught to protect, to leave alone, to thank for the almonds and the avocados and the wildflowers. That's the case file nobody wants to close, because closing it means admitting the thing worth saving and the thing worth fearing wear the same face. But that doesn't mean you stop looking. Go back to the trail, the garage, the beach, the hedge in the Central Valley. The denial holds in all of them, every time, because looking closely has never felt necessary until it's too late to matter. The danger was never really the animal. It's the refusal to look at what the record's been showing the whole time. If investigations like this are your kind of thing, subscribe. There's more of this coming.